am so excited to be joined by two incredible industry professionals that have decades of experience in the space that are going to walk us through some great gifts that you can give your dads for Father's Day. In front of me is Carl Lipscomb. He is going to walk us through two great Old Forester brands. And somewhere in the background, maybe he'll pop his head in. Henry Infante is going to walk us through two releases from Herradura that you definitely should get. Actually, all of these are incredible. So, first and foremost, Carl, thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me, Lee. I appreciate it.
So we were talking offline. I mean, Old Forester. I go through these bottles in the Whiskey Row series just continually. But I think as people are getting into exploring Old Forester, I mean, there's some really great diversity in Whiskey Row, and you have two really great standouts here in front of us.
Yeah, so the ones today, I mean, well, first of all, George Garvin Brown. I mean, let's make sure we pay our respects to him. Old Forester it's the first bottle bourbon, right? And it's also we've been selling Old Forester for over 150 years. So there's a lot of rich history when it comes to talking about this brand specifically, and our founding father, George Garvin Brown, was actually a pharmaceutical salesman. And at the time, you did have medicinal whiskey, and he was seeing what was happening to a lot of people getting bad whiskey, getting whiskey that was, it was turning brown based off of pain or tobacco, right? Because we are the first bottle bourbon, but obviously bourbon was being made and carried in other things, right? So when you had the barrels that a lot of people carried them in, there was no transparency, and George really wanted to make sure that there was quality, integrity, and consistency, right, through his batching with the three distilleries that we sourced from at the time, so that when he put his name on the product, you knew it was quality whiskey.
Yeah, and I mean, such a groundbreaking way to transform the industry and really define the industry, right? I mean, to say, hey, I'm going to stand behind the quality in this bottle by actually showing you what that product is and then
Right.
really affixing his name to it as well.
Yeah, and seeing that it's sealed, right? So it's not tampered with, because again, people were just doing whatever they could to turn whiskey the right color and then sell it. Even back then, the term proof, right? So back then, you would actually you would pour from your barrel, and someone would hold up a flame, and then based on how blue the flame got, like how large, that dictated the proof, right? Those are the things that they
Wow.
were doing back then, right? Just kind of just winging it.
Wow, that's incredible. I'm glad we don't have to do that now.
No, now we just have to believe what we read.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen to you. So
Okay,
so
yeah, for sure.
tell us a little bit about this first release. So 1910. Why don't you start by talking about the Whiskey Row series? And these are the last two that are really in general released. I know there is now a fifth that's really hard to get. But what really inspired kind of these different time frames in whiskey?
So each year represents a benchmark, right, for our parent company, Brown Forman. And so you have the 1870, right, which was the year that we did the first bottle of bourbon. 27 years later, you had the Bottle and Bond Act. So we have the 1897, which is the Bottle and Bond, and even that, right? To really again harp on how advanced George was, and at that time is, the Bottle and Bond Act was really something by the distillers trying to demand regulation on a product that was killing people, right? Because people were always trying to just make a buck. And so that was actually the first consumer protection law ever, right? And that kind of also allowed, now we having what's in regards of what's on our food, right? Like that came from the Bottle and Bond Act. Like that was first. And then we had 1910, and then we have 1920 as well, and then the 1924. So the 1910, I don't know if you have a glass or what you have in front of you. So first things first, I got these little babies here. So these are called Majestic. You can get them at the Old Forester shop. What they are is, imagine, yes, 1910, boom. what they are, imagine a marshmallow that has caramel sauce wrapped around it, and then you have dark chocolate wrapped around that as well,
Oh,
topped with sea salt. They're delicious. They pair great with the 1910 and the 1920 specifically, and the 1924 whenever you're able to get your hands on that. So first things, let's go ahead and smell this because we taste through our nose, right, Lee?
mm-hmm.
What kind of flavors you get there? There's not a wrong answer either.
Man, I get like brown sugar into caramel, some light oak, and milk chocolate.
Yeah, for sure. That chocolate, the milk chocolate's big. So go ahead and take a sip. So the story behind this, the 1910. So we had a fire that was going on Whiskey Row, and we were bottling in the basement. And so you just had all this whiskey that was ready, in the vats that has been proofed and aged and whatnot, and ready to go into the bottles. And you didn't have time to do that, right? Not to mention you pay taxes on all of this whiskey. So there happened to be some new charred oak barrels nearby, and so they just dumped all the whiskey into those barrels because they were easy to just roll down the street
Wow.
and just keep it moving to get out of that, to get out of the fire. And so a few years later, um, they tried it, and the reason why, and it was delicious, right? But the reason why it's called Old Fine Whiskey is because back then you didn't really have portfolios, right?
Mm.
So if it didn't taste like your product, then you would call it something, right? So they couldn't call this the Old Forester, but we're going to call it Old Fine Whiskey. And even back then, it wasn't even like I don't believe it was out in market either. It was a gift that we would use, right? And so for whatever special occasion was going on, like this was just a rare thing that we had, and so this is our modern approach to what that whiskey tasted like back then.
Wow.
And so it's 100 proof, Old Forester 100 proof, and it goes into a second barrel that is heavily charred, right, to kind of to bring back that smoke and that fire over a minute, right? And then it's aged for an extra 12 months. And so there's a thing that I kind of want to talk about in regards to, we got time. We got time. When it comes to maturation, because this is very important. Go ahead and take another sip. I got to tell a dad joke, Henry. I forgot to tell a dad joke.
Oh shoot! Yeah, dang.
Yeah,
That's
one
right.
job. I had one job. All right, Lee. Here's the dad joke, and then we'll talk about maturation. How do you get a tissue to dance?
How?
You put a boogie in it.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's bad.
There it is.
That's
Man,
bad.
look at all those laughing faces on the. Oh, this isn't okay. Just kidding. Fake news. So, basically, maturation, right? So, Brown Forman is the only whiskey supplier in the world at its size that owns its own cooperage. So, a cooperage is where we're seasoning our wood, we're cutting our wood, we're finishing the barrels, we're putting the barrels together, right? And the barrel accounts for 75 to 85% of the flavor.
Yeah.
And 100% of the color. Not only that, by 2020, I mean, you easily had over 400 American whiskeys, but you really only had, I would say, 25 to 35 distilleries, right? Pumping out over 400 whiskeys.
Sure.
So, with that being said, Brown Forman, who also owns Jack Daniels, Woodford, and also obviously Old Forester, Jack only makes Jack, Woodford only makes Woodford, and Old Forester only makes Old Forester. So now you're down to 32 distilleries pumping out over 400 American whiskeys.
Mm-hmm.
And none of them own the one process that dictates 85% of your flavor and 100% of your color. And that is how we separate ourselves from everybody else. And it's very important because there's a lot of TLC, if you will, that goes into these brands, right? And that's something that's, obviously, like, you could sense the passion when we talk about this. Like, that's just something that's huge, right? There's a
Yeah.
lot of beloved brands out there, but they don't control that one process,
Wow.
which to me is huge. And the fact that we control all of it and do whatever we want, whenever we want, however we want, is
Beginning to
very
end. Yeah.
impressive, right? So, sorry, squirrel. Don't went on a tangent about the maturation, but the 1910 to me is amazing for after dinner. It's great with Majescas, right? I'm actually gonna have a little bite of one
Now you're just
and then
making
have
us jealous,
another.
man.
Sorry, I'm just trying to make you jealous, Lee.
If they could show the inside so they could see it.
Hopefully, I don't have chocolate on my tooth. Probably won't tell me either. Just kidding. Um, so this is great for after dinner. Great with tiramisu, chocolate, coffee, cheesecake, flan. Since we're in Miami, right? Latin culture. There's so many really big, like, powerful, rich, like, chocolate milk chocolate notes too, that pair and go perfectly with the Majescas.
And then coming in at 93 proof, I mean, such a smooth pour, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's clear that in that additional year in that second barrel, it's really kind of drying out flavor, but also just mellowing that flavor in a really nice way. And I think, like for me, to your point, this is a great dessert pour because it's very smooth, but it's complex enough where if you want to make a cocktail, like we were talking about, like drinks with dad, like how can you kind of bring something home with you that's not just the bottle, but actually like mix some drinks with dad. And for me, like this is like that old fashioned drink. Like you can add a few elements to it, but keep it simple and it's perfect.
Yeah, a black walnut old fashioned is delicious
Oh
with
man,
it.
absolutely.
Yeah, and you can get that at a local store, hopefully.
Yeah, if you don't have black walnut bitters at home, you're missing out.
You're slacking. Do you put
Yeah,
it in everything? You just put
I
it in your
put it
water
in
too?
everything now. Honestly,
It's the new tahine, right?
it is, man. People need to know this. All right, so
Over here.
let's move
Oh
on
yes, the
to
next one. Sorry.
let's proof this up a bit. So we're rolling into 1920. Now this is prohibition style, and I mean, just to celebrate, I think everything that happened during the prohibition era. But wasn't Old Forester one of the few that stayed around during prohibition, right?
Yeah, I believe we were one of six to get the medicinal license to continue to bottle,
Yeah.
right? And so this, again, these are modern approaches on how to replicate what we felt like the whiskey tasted during that time. So during the 1920s, it was prohibition, obviously, and we had the medicinal license. So your medicinal whiskeys, once they were proofed down and came out of the barrel, at barrel strength was around 115 proof, right? 110, 115 proof. So that's why this one here specifically is at 115 proof. Let's go ahead, sniff this one. This one I get a lot more like cherry,
Mm-hmm.
stone fruits. Um, and if you
That
want, you can even, like, what I love to do a lot is hold it side by side, right? You can see the difference in color from the 1910 to the 1920. Just go back and forth.
I'm gonna see if I can hold those up. I mean,
There.
that is noticeably darker. And this nose, I love. I mean, the stone fruit, I get all in the cherry. I love that. I also, um, this is the one where it's like almost your dustier chocolate, like a chocolate malt ball, which I really, for me, is super fun because at 115, sometimes you're like, oh, this is already pretty high proof. I don't know if I'm gonna get complexity. And this thing, I mean, maintains all of that flavor and richness even at 115.
Right. And if you do feel that slight little, there might be a slight little burn, but we call that a Kentucky hug, right? Or if you don't like to be touched, we call it a Kentucky sweater. I always heard our master taster Melissa Riff give that analogy. I always thought it was hilarious. The
Yeah.
way she gave that was great. But there's so much flavor, man. Like, the fact that it is high proof, some people kind of get like, oh, it's going to be spicy, it's going to be hot, and it's not really. It still holds so much flavor. It's great in like a Sazerac too if you want to do a split base, or you know, I wouldn't do it in a paper plane, but it has like those like fruity, like bitter characteristics that you love from a bourbon that you're gonna put in a paper plane. You know, what do you think about this one when you sip it? Like, is there a big variance in regards to the nose to the mouthfeel?
Yeah, I mean, clearly it's bolder, right? You're talking about 20 proof points higher. You get definitely more of that Kentucky hug at the end. I get more of that toasted oak notes at the end, which I always really love at the end. So it's like that great celebration of oak, but it's not overly tannic. So you're getting that flavor that's like enjoyable. It's almost like that campfire oak versus like, you know, when you get into the leather notes and all of those things. Luckily, it does not have those. But it also has like a really nice sweet profile throughout, which is not overly sweet, but it's like kind of gentle, and then like it lessens over time.
Yeah. Well, so a little nerd fact. So, you know, when you have your own barrels, you're able to do some things and look into them. And so what we found was that the more things that are higher proof, right, that have more alcohol in them, extract those spicier like oak tannin notes versus something that has a lower proof, which has more water in it. And the water is going to extract more of those like caramel, sugar, maple syrup notes. That's why
Sure.
like this one is going to be, you know, outside of being double barreled, but it's 93 proof, right? So it's a little bit more approachable for someone who's maybe beginning in trying to try like higher proof things above 90, right? Where this one is going to have that punch, like, hey, I'm here, you know, I
Yeah,
know
but
you see me, type
I
thing,
also
you
get
know.
like as I took a few
Oh,
extra
so good.
sips, like creme brulee is a big one in here for me, where it's like you get that sweetness, but like that charring on top, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, this is a fun one to play with. I mean, I've definitely done this in Manhattan, but I could also see this like Boulevardier could be interesting just to see how those flavors pop and
Right.
kind of what comes out.
And some people, you know, like also you drink your whiskey how you want, right? So if you want to put a cube in this, if you want to put a drop of water in this, it's your whiskey. You drink it however you'd like, right? And even when you add a little bit of water, it's going to change the flavors, right? And so
Absolutely.
I don't want people to be scared by the proof, because there's ways that you can, you know, there's no perfect way to drink your whiskey. It's your whiskey, right? And so if you need to add a little water or add an ice cube or something like that, do it, because it's going to change the flavor and it's going to be even better, right, for you.
Absolutely. Man,
Yeah.
well, Carl, thank you for introducing us to these two. I think we're gonna pass the baton and get Henry in here to show us two Herradura releases. Then we'll bring you both back together, and we'll just ask and answer a few questions and finish our time.
All right, for sure. Uh, he's slightly taller, so the camera might have to be adjusted.
Uh He just has to lean like a little bit in the chair.
He already leans. Have you seen him?
That was good. That was good.
This is like a weird transition in a newsroom.
Yeah.
Boy, I'm all right. I'm all right.
There you
I
go.
just
Hey,
had to
I'm
sit down. So if I'm sit down, I'm the same height as him, so I'm good now. You know.
Yeah, so Henry, I mean, and this is a fun transition because we can really talk about like the life cycle of the barrel, right? So moving from bourbon and aging whiskey, I mean, these whiskey barrels then go on to have more lives, one of which is in aging tequila. So, I mean, why don't you start tell us like quick high level about Herradura, but then let's get into aging tequilas and our two releases here.
Absolutely, but I want to touch on what you just talked about, the barrels. Yeah, the secondary market's huge, huge. And it's not just tequila; it's also rum and wine,
Yep.
scotch, just about anything and everything right now. Especially our barrels are probably one of the most sought after,
Yeah.
because we just have quite a few. Let me just put it this way, and I'm going to use Jack Daniels since it's one of our sister brands. At any time, Jack has 2 million barrels aging on property. Just to use
Wow.
that example. So those barrels are turning and churning, you know. So, all right, let's talk tequila.
Let's talk tequila. I'm
Let's
in.
talk tequila. So, Herradura, or like my friend Lee is saying, Herradura. Okay.
Hey, I'm like the most. I'm the most. I didn't grow up speaking Spanish, so like I have no accent at all.
You got really defensive over there. You noticed that,
I
right?
did. I'm
Yeah.
hurt. I'm out of here. I'm out of here.
You're out here. Take your tequila and go.
Yeah.
So Herradura, the actual word translated to English means horseshoe, which is why you see the horseshoe logo everywhere. Um, Kind of interesting because anybody who's into superstition and stuff like that know that an upside down horseshoe is bad luck because all the luck's running out. So one of the reasons that we have this is, let's say you're having a really bad day and you decide to come home. Well, let's pour you a shot of good luck, and there's your horseshoe with the good
Yep.
luck. So I've always loved that part of the story because I always think it's super cool. So just quick tequila 101. Tequila comes from Mexico. Okay. Mexico has 32, I'm going to use the word states, but they use the word federal territories. We're going to use the word states. Of the 32 states, only 5 are allowed to make tequila. Okay, so just to give you an idea, all that, and the reason for it is the terrain, the terroir, whatever word you want to use, is suited best for the agave plants. Blue Weber agave to be specific, is the agave of choice. There's several types of agave, but the CRT, el Consejo Regular de Tequila, which is like the USDA of tequila, says you have to use the 100%. You have to use the Blue Weber agave for tequila. That's the only way it's going to be classified as that. Okay. Now, there's 2 types of tequilas: 100% agave, and the term used to be called mixto. Now they just use the word tequila. So it's 100% agave and tequila. 100% agave means that the tequila you have is made from, take a guess, 100% agave. Okay, there's no additives or anything added to it. Now, we have tequila, the general term. Those will have additives added to it. What could be an additive? Glycerin, something to help add color, something to help add flavor. Maybe I didn't want to age it in the barrel for X amount of months, so I add a flavor profile to give me that flavor, like a speed aging, Um, and I'll tell you right now, the only way you get old fast is marriage. That's it. Okay, so that's a whole different story. So see, my wife doesn't watch this. I could be courageous.
Yeah.
Um, the concept is, again, understanding the difference between agaves. Something else I want to touch on before we get into details here: salt and lime with your tequila. Okay, we're not in high school anymore, people. We're not. Okay, we're growing up. I hate to break the news to you. All right. Now, why did the whole salt and lime thing ever start? Well, there was a particular brand that was a mixed tequila, a mixed or tequila, that came into the country, and nobody knew how to drink tequila at the time. Nobody understood the concept of tequila. So somebody came up with the thing of using the salt and the lime to drink with tequila to make the flavor less rough. Well, that became a big slogan, a big campaign, and it pushed on and on and on. I'm not going to mention my competitor, but they did a great job in marketing tequila and helped bring it to the market. Then all of a sudden, all these other tequilas just flooded the market. Okay, including us. We're one of the agaves. Hey, what did we help? Or what does 100% agave help teach people? That you can actually drink tequila like a whiskey.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
You could drink it like a whiskey. You don't have to add all this crazy stuff all the time. Look, I got nothing against margaritas. I got nothing against all these other drinks. And by the way, the margarita is not the official drink of the official cocktail of Mexico. It's a paloma.
Yep.
Okay. I think the margarita is more of an American cocktail.
I thought you were going to quiz me. I was ready.
No, Lee, I'm not going to quiz you because you probably have like a Google open there or something. You look like a cheater, so I don't want to, Plus, you already tasted some of this stuff before, so I don't know what's going through your head. So just little things like that. It's good to know. Now, let's talk about what we got in front of us. There you, you put up his bottle too. So, Herradura Reposado. Now, the first in our lineup is a Blanco. It's a silver, which is clear. Okay, so you understand. So we know how we got here. That clear tequila is aged 45 days in a barrel. Now, to be classified as a silver or a Blanco is anywhere from 0 to 60 days. Okay, a lot of brands out there don't want to spend the time in the barrel, so they go straight from the still, bottle, store. Okay, we actually put our silver in a barrel for 45 days. Gives it a little flavor, a hint of color, but it's still very good. The flavor profile is just enhanced a little bit more. Now we have our next level. Anywhere from 60 days to a year is what's called reposado. Reposado in English means to rest. Okay, so we're resting our tequila in a barrel from anywhere from 2 months to a year to be called a reposado. Our tequila rests in the barrel for 11 months. And the cool thing is, in case you ever wonder or are curious, it actually says it on the bottle, aged 11 months. Okay, I call it tequila for dummies because you can just read it. Everything's on the barrel, on the bottle. And that's a lot of bottles in general. You can get a lot of information off. Now, Reposado, Herradura was actually the tequila that started the whole concept of Reposado tequila. It was never a thing until they started it. They came up with this whole thing. They're like, hey, let's put it in a barrel, let it sit there, and let's see what comes out. So obviously what's coming out already is you can see just the color. It's no longer clear.
Mm-hmm.
As Carl mentioned earlier, how important the barrel process, the whole barrel thing, how big it is. Flavor profile. And I'm going to use an example. We talked about this earlier. If you're drinking soda, like soda pop, and you're buying it in a glass bottle, the same soda in a can, it's not going to taste the same. Why?
Correct.
Because the vessel that it's in
Sure.
will change the flavor, right? So it's the same thing with booze, whether it's whiskey, tequila, scotch, rum, whatever it is, except vodka. Nobody drinks vodka. But okay, if you're talking tequila and stuff, and it's in the barrel, it's going to change flavors. Same thing as anything else. Now, that's some good color it got from that barrel just for 11 months.
11 months, it's crazy color for sure.
You know, one of the things I get asked quite a bit from people is, yeah, you can see that color gray on the camera there.
Yeah, it's awesome.
One of the questions people say, well, what's great for this? Now, I mentioned margaritas earlier. Margaritas, a lot of people like to use silver tequila or blanco. Why? Because it's a little bit more inexpensive. It's not a lot. It's inexpensive. You can make a lot more of it. If you want to take your tequila, your margarita to another level, start using Reposado. In my opinion, Reposado, it makes the best margaritas. Now, again, I'm not an expert. I've only been doing this 30 years, but I'm just saying, I think it makes the best margaritas. And the silvers are more for palomas. Again,
agreed. And I think, to your point, like the flavor profile of a Repo also just adds and enhances that margarita. I also use a Reposado for old fashions. I mean, you want that core barrel aging in that spirit or in that cocktail, and it works beautifully.
Here, I'm gonna give I hate to use the word mixology. I feel like every time I say it, I have to put my pinky out. But a great cocktail lesson. Any cocktail you can make with a clear spirit, whether it's a clear rum or clear vodka, you can do with a clear tequila. Okay. Any cocktail you can do with now an aged spirit, whether it's an aged rum or obviously whiskeys. Now you could do the same thing with tequila. You could mix and match. And I always use the cocktail Sex on the Beach. Sex on the Beach, the cocktail is vodka, peach, cranberry, orange. Well, what about tequila, peach, cranberry, orange? Okay.
Sure.
All we're doing is switching one thing. Guess what? Tequila mojitos. It's a thing. It's out there. They taste good. Reposado, I made espresso martinis with it. And let me tell you something. It's a whole new ballgame.
Really?
Whole new ballgame. I really is. It's so good. Listen, it adds flavor. Carl's over here agreeing with it. It just adds flavor to it. And I'm not trying to knock vodka. Look, here he is. Here's his approval.
No, it does. 100%. It does. Brown sugar, espresso, Repo. Delicious.
Absolutely. And I'm not trying to knock vodka, but vodka is the tilapia of the spirits world, folks. It tastes like whatever you add to it. All right. Tequila already has flavor. Okay, I'm gonna get lawsuits now from all the tequila vodka companies. But too bad, I said it. I can't take it back. Let's taste. Let's taste.
Yeah, I've been waiting for you.
I know. I keep seeing you smell. That's why I keep delaying it on purpose. I'm not gonna lie to you. A little fun. So here, if everybody can see now, listen. One of the things let me teach you all how to sip tequila or sip any spirit in general, because the mistake is made. People want to shoot it down. If you want to shoot down booze, don't buy expensive stuff. Don't buy high quality stuff. Just buy the inexpensive stuff if that's what you want to do is shoot down. Here's the problem when you shoot down a spirit. you get one taste. That's it. And usually that taste is this.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
That's not the taste we want. We want to be able to taste. You guys ever seen those sommeliers? Ooh, picky up. Those sommeliers, when they're tasting something and they're like, oh, I smell dragon fruit. I smell wood. I smell the rubber hose from New Jersey when I was 6 years old. You know, you ever seen when people do stuff like that? Okay? That's because they've already developed a palate and a nose to smell. So first thing we do is we smell. Take a smell. Okay? If it smells like tequila, you're drinking the right thing right now. That's a good thing. Okay? Now, what I do is I smell, I reset. How do you reset? Some people use coffee beans. I smell the back of my hand.
Mhm.
Okay, that's always a great thing. And then I can smell again. And usually I'm getting different aromas now, different scents. I won't sit here and tell you you're going to taste nectar, you're going to taste this, you're going to taste that. It doesn't work like that. What you taste is what you taste. I can't force that flavor into your head. Okay, so first sip, the most crucial of all the sips is the first one. It's a small sip. You're going to take a sip, move it around your mouth for about 3 seconds, swallow it. Now, here's the important part. When you swallow it, as soon as it clears, exhale right away. Don't inhale, don't hold your breath, don't nothing. Exhale right away as soon as it clears your throat. By doing that, how does a dragon get rid of the fire? It breathes it out. So we're trying to get rid of that burn, okay? So we drink it, clear, all the way across the table. We want to smell that carpaccio. All the way across the table, okay? All right? We're going to try this together as a group. Here we go, Olivier. Here we go.
No coughing, Lee.
No coughing, Lee.
Oh, man. I knew that was going to make this.
It's the peanut gallery.
Sorry.
Man.
No burn.
Awesome.
I've done this with 148 proof whiskey. Didn't feel burn. Okay, now what's happening? Now your second sip, you take a normal sip, not a gulp, a sip. And you're going to see now how the flavor is different from the second than it was from the first. And the third and the fourth, you're going to be developing all these different things. It's going to taste different and better every sip. So go ahead, Lee, take another sip. See, tell me if there's a difference. If you followed what I was doing.
Absolutely. Actually, for me, it's a little bit sweeter. Man, my mouth is just watering, just straight up watering.
Besides, yeah.
I'm ready for that next sip.
Yep. Really quick, what does this pair good with? I think it goes amazing with ceviche. I think it goes really good, especially with mango ceviche. What? Mango ceviche in this? Next level. Next level. You know, it also helps bring up my diabetes sugar level, but that's a whole different story. Ready to move on? Next?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Next is man, this is such an amazing tequila. There it is. Herradura Legend.
Man.
Herradura Legend comes in this beautiful box. You know, it comes in this beautiful box. It's just an amazing presentation. You know, if you're a whiskey drinker, a rum drinker, aged rum drinker, even a cognac drinker, you will definitely enjoy this. If you're looking, hey, I'm a whiskey guy, I don't like tequila. Well, you want to break into tequila as a whiskey guy? This is the way to go. This is the way to go because the flavor profile of this blends so well with those other things. I have blind tasted people on this.
And that color is just awesome.
Look at the color. Look at the color difference. Look at that. Look at the color difference. Now, this is a lot about to do with the barrel. Remember, Carl was talking about barrels earlier. So I got this with me. This is pretty cool. Okay. These are 4 different barrel staves glued together. Okay. So right here on the bottom, this is what a raw barrel looks like, natural. Over here, this is toasted. Over here, obviously, it's charred. And this is the barrel we're using for Herradura Legend. So what is this barrel here? It's this one, except we cut fresh grooves into it. So we have this. So what are we getting now? We're getting flavor profile from 2 different types of wood, really. Charred and raw. Again, remember we talked about the soda in the different containers, the flavors? Well, now we're playing with a lot more than just one flavor. We're putting this in there for 22 months in a barrel like this. That's why you're getting the color. The color is coming from right here.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of the extra flavor is going to be coming from here. Herradura Legend, Lee, I think we were talking yesterday, you and I, and you said it's almost sacrilegious to make a cocktail with this.
Oh
You
my
know,
gosh, it just
It-
hurts. It hurts me.
we were we were talking about that, and I'm 100% in agreement. But man, you can make some mean old fashions with this.
Oh, I can only imagine.
You can make some really mean old fashions. And I mentioned this earlier as well. Espresso martinis. You know, you really want to take an elevated espresso martini with this? I'm telling you.
Wow.
Old fashions with this. I have made quite a few. I've made one of these with. Yeah, I know. I actually took mango. I'm a mango guy, obviously. But my dad's got a big tree in the yard of mango, so it's easy for me to get them. And I charred the mango and made it as part of the old fashioned. Man, really next level,
Wow.
real next level stuff. One of the things I want to encourage people to do is don't be scared to try cocktails and try creating your own ideas. Sometimes we live in this world that, well, if the book says it has to be that way. Yeah. You know, the only way we can, the reason we have so many cocktails in this world now is because people are going outside the book. So
Yeah.
don't be scared to do that. If you look at the bottle, it's an absolute gorgeous bottle. This is our legend, Herradura legend. Man, it's I don't know how. I guess the best way to describe it, it's the whiskey man's tequila. Like I said earlier, it's the best way to break into it. Or even if you just, hey, I have a good palate, I enjoy everything. You're gonna enjoy this. And the problem with this, I won't lie to you, you're gonna get spoiled. You're gonna get spoiled once you drink this. It's hard to drink a lot of other stuff tequila wise because you're gonna be like, yeah, nothing compares to this. You know. Lee, do you have any questions or anything, or do you any commentary? Are
Man,
you am I
man, let's.
disturbing you from
I mean,
drinking?
I'd love to hear your tasting notes on this one
Let's do it.
because I mean, there's just so much complexity here, and I get. I mean, this is another one where I get like vanillas and but like vanilla cream. This was one where I had like the orange creamsicle where I get like a little bit of that candied
Yep.
citrus with like vanilla cream. And it's such a fun flavor to get when you're talking about a tequila because you don't expect it. And after you talked about um, making like espresso martini, I could see how some of these flavors just ramp up in there and give it like just some great like depth that you don't normally get in one of those.
I recently did a tasting where the chef made a bread pudding using Herradura Reposado,
Oh man.
and then
Okay.
I paired it with Legend. Neat.
Yeah.
And like I just
Wow.
drew, I just drew thinking about it. All right, let's taste. Let's taste. So first thing we do is we always smell. Always, wow, just to smell on this thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's really deceiving because you're thinking tequila, like tequila, even though it is, but that smell throws you off. You're like, man, this could be something else, you know. And then we already got our palates prepared. Go ahead and sip away. Um,
Wow.
so
What
much
I
is
love
happening with the first sip.
what I love is it still celebrates the agave, right? You get that note, but it's not sharp. It's like that. If you've ever been to like the steamers where they're cooking the agave
Yeah.
and you smell that coming out, it's like that essence of agave, but with all of this complexity layered on top of it.
It's kind of time traveling. I think you and I talked about how smells can put you in certain places.
Mm-hmm.
This is a good time traveling tequila. I almost said whiskey. A good time traveling tequila because you taste it, and if you've been to one of those places, it connects you. It's like every time
Absolutely.
I smell Old Forester, I think of the barrel houses at Old Forester. You know, it smells connected to places. This is exactly what that does.
Absolutely.
Now, the first taste, it's wacky because it's so much going on that you can't pick out right off the bat what the first thing is. So this is where the second and third sips come in handy because now you're going to be able to decipher, you know,
Mm-hmm.
what it is, the way you're tasting. Again, what could change all this? Maybe what you're eating with it, what you had before. Maybe I just brushed my teeth and I decide now to drink tequila. It's not going to taste right. I won't lie. I had a red Jolly Rancher 35 minutes ago. So yeah, I don't know if my tongue's red, but either way. So,
Changed everything right there.
yeah.
You steal them from your son?
Oh, here.
Oh. It's live. Henry.
Breakthrough has a candy bowl out there, and it's horrible to have around this.
Oh man, yeah, that's tough.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, wow.
I'm tasting the boldness from the barrel on the second
Yeah.
sip. Like right here, right along, I'm tasting that boldness. So I'm telling you, I'll have it hiding behind the ball. Look, and even the smells rate changed because it's been aerating, so that smell has changed. Yeah. So, by the way, the glasses we're using, for those of you who've never seen these or heard of these, they're called Glencairns. Glencairns were kind of created for the use of whiskey originally, and they came from the whole idea of snifters from cognac. These work for tequila just as well when you're doing neat tastings. If you're going to add ice cubes and stuff, this probably might not be the best usage of it.
Definitely not.
By the way, if you add an ice cube to this, it will change the whole flavor profile. It's no longer going to taste exactly, not only worse or better because it's your palate, but it will taste that flavor profile. It's just something to keep in mind. I love staring at it because just the color is so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
the color in my glass was beautiful. It's actually gone now.
It was beautiful. If anybody's noticed yet, Lee's become a little happier throughout this whole presentation.
Hey, I'm having a great time
now.
Yeah. Let's just keep this thing going.
Yeah, just 10 more bottles. So both tequilas, Reposado and Herradura Legend, they both have their place for what you want to do. What food you want to pair, what do you want to go with. I would pair this with barbecue food. I would pair this with barbecue food all day because the spices and the profile of this will work together. Again, think like a whiskey, right? So, Reposado, I mean, if you mix it, great. If you want to leave it neat, think of, like I said, salads, ceviches, things like that. At the end of the day, there's really no wrong answer. One of the things I want to do, I was telling Carl a little while ago, is I want to do a class where I do 5 different flavored popcorns and pair them with spirits.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Why not? I've done it with cereal, breakfast cereal. You know, so if I've done it with cereal, I could do it with popcorn.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
I'll be there. Just let me know when and where. I'm in.
We'll do online.
Yeah,
online popcorn tasting.
Yeah.
So
well, let's bring Carl back in because I know we're running short on time. He's out. All right, Carl's out.
We don't want Carl in here.
Was that a short joke? Is that why you said that?
I'd like to say thank you to Willy Wonka for letting Carl come out and join us. Okay.
So, gentlemen,
I'm standing right now.
He's standing, by the way.
4 incredible pours. All of these are available on Reserve Bar right now, along with the extension of both lines. So if you're really into the Whiskey Row series for Old Forester, you can get the rest of the Whiskey Row on Reserve Bar right now. If you want to taste the rest of the range for Herradura, you can also do that on Reserve Bar. And we really are in those last few week and a half before Father's Day. So now is the time. If you're going to order something and get it in time for Father's Day, now is the time. Before we go, each of you, what would you be grabbing for your dad or mentor or just astounding guy in your life, and why?
I'm going to say Old Forester 1910.
All right.
Yeah, I know I'm talking tequila, but I represent the same company. I fell in love with Old Forester 1910 the first time I tasted it, and the story behind it and everything. So I've actually tasted it with my dad, and my dad he's become a fan of 1910.
Awesome.
So that's my connection with him in many ways.
For my dad, since he doesn't really like higher proof, I'm gonna go with the 93 proof on the Whiskey Row, the 1910, because he loves to snack on like trail mix and like nuts and like raisins and like salty nuts and chocolate covered nuts and things like that. So like in his leisure while he plays chess or whatever he's doing, or just looking over the garden, right, over the night, he's would love this, right? And also like the smell of, he's from the Midwest, so like we don't really have campfires that much anymore in Florida. So just this is going to kind of take him back, the way we were talking about smells and things like that. Something that he'll be able to sit and enjoy. You know,
Awesome.
another way for him to tune us out.
Well, gentlemen, it's been great having you today. Thank you so much for making the time to walk us through these 4 releases. Again, if you're looking for a gift for your dad for Father's Day, you do still have time. But you probably need to do it today or tomorrow. So jump on Reserve Bar, grab any one of these releases. Or if you run a little bit late, we do have gift cards that you can make available. But my preference is always to get that bottle just in time. So get it in, get that order in. We'll get that bottle to you as quickly as possible. And we'll make sure that y'all have a great Father's Day. Again, thank you so much for the time, guys.
Thank you, Lee.
Thank you, Lee.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.